Boy, I really don't want to do this, but it would be disingenuous if I didn't bring it up. I am a longtime subscriber of the Wrestling Observer. I consider Dave Meltzer a friend. I value his opinion. I take it for what it is. It's an opinion. But boy, there were a couple of missteps over the last week with Mr. Dave Meltzer. Unfortunately, he posted that Afa, the wild Samoan, had passed away when he had, in fact, not yet passed away. And Bruce Pritchard took him to the absolute woodshed on social media about this. And you actually retweeted a post where people were pretty negative about Dave, and it continued. Mr. Meltzer posted a comment where he was talking about an internal memo that he saw from Warner Brothers Discovery on the total value of AEW programming. And then it was $288,265,720 per year based on ad revenue, blah, blah, blah. And it went down this rabbit hole. And then it comes out that, well, that wasn't actually an internal memo from Warner Brothers Discovery. It was posted by a fan to a Discord and then shared around. And I guess he took the bait. And the result is he was wrong twice in a week on some pretty big stuff. I hate it for Dave because, boy, he's got a lot of accurate stuff that he's reported. But, boy, when these really glaring ones, tough week to be writing the Observer, easy week to be Eric Bischoff. The floor is yours, Mr. Bischoff.
No, it's not. Look, you are seeing it now. See, you've, and I respect the fact, actually, I admire the fact that you're willing to admit that you're a friend of Dave's and you don't let this kind of thing affect your perception of him, and you look for the better qualities. I think that makes you a good human being, and I like that. And I like to be surrounded by people like you to make up for people like me. Part of the reason I'm different than you is because I've actually spent 30 years of my life in the wrestling industry. And that's not a knock, brother. That's not what it's, I know it sounds like one, but it's not. In that period of time, I saw the negative impact that Dave Meltzer and his lies, distortions, omissions, and fiction, I've seen firsthand how that negatively affects the industry. Just like Vince McMahon did. And it may be easy for people who have never really been in the industry, who don't understand or haven't seen firsthand some of the shit that's caused by Dave Meltzer and some people like him, but he's at the top of the list. So since you don't know that, you haven't had to experience it, you haven't had to deal with it, it's easy to discount that and just say, oh, that's just Dave being Dave, and sometimes he gets it right and sometimes he gets it wrong. But that's not true either. Dave has never done research. Dave has never applied anything remotely close to journalistic integrity to anything he writes. He doesn't fact check. He doesn't confirm anything. He doesn't double source anything. Excuse me. I want to make sure nobody misses a bit. Dave is a fraud. Dave hears things from a variety of sources. Some of it fits his narrative, the way he wants to choose, the way he chooses to look at the world, and the way he projects his thoughts about what's right and wrong about the industry. Dave will scour Reddit. He'll look at chat boards. He'll read a Variety issue of Variety or surf online, looking for little tidbits of information that support his agenda. And then he'll put it out there as fact without sourcing any of it, without researching any of it, without confirming any of it. And he gets caught. It's always been that way. It has always been that way. He has been lying, distorting, misleading, and otherwise fraudulently convincing people that he's actually a good source for information about the wrestling business. He's conned so many people for so long. And all it takes is some idiot, I shouldn't say that. All it takes is some person who is writing in the mainstream media, who's writing about professional wrestling, but doesn't really want to do any of the research and take the time to figure anything out. So they just look for somebody who covers wrestling, and Dave Meltzer's name will pop up. Why? Because he was one of the first ones to do it. He was the first one to put out a dirt sheet, one of them. And to his credit, he's positioned himself as a credible third-party resource on the business of professional wrestling. And he's conned people into believing that. And it's not true because he doesn't do any research. Look at, well, I could go off on a tangent. That's my issue. You're seeing it now. We're all seeing it now because there's this thing called social media, and anybody and everybody can kind of point to all the bullshit that Dave Meltzer feeds everybody on a daily basis and call him out on it. If it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for the internet, you'd all be thinking he's a great source of information. He's a fraud. He's charging people money because those people believe that he's a great source of firsthand knowledge and he's got direct relationships in the business. He has a couple relationships in the business. Not many, and nothing credible. He gets so much shit wrong, but he tries every day to convince people he's got great relationships inside of WWE. He does not. He talks to fringe management, people who are kind of outside of the loop, technically management, but low level. People like him that live on the dirt, just like Jim Barnett did, Gary Jester did, Terry Taylor did, my buddy Zane Bresloff did. And I knew it. It was part of his charm. I could tell when he was regurgitating Dave Meltzer bullshit. And I just smiled and went about my business. But for those of us who have lived through Dave Meltzer's bullshit, every time this happens to him, and it's happening more and more consistently now, I get a smile on my face. Every time somebody calls him out and exposes him for the fraud that he really is, I just get a smile on my face. And I think, damn, it's about time. I'm sure Bruce does too. Feels the same way.
SaveWithConrad.com.
Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois. My wife started the process with one of the big major corporations, and things were going very badly. And finally, I just stopped and said, hey, listen, I've been listening to the ads for years. Let's go with Save with Conrad and see what we can have happen. We were trying to free up a little space so we could spend down some debt and do some home improvements. We saved quite a bit, and in the long run, we're going to do a lot better with Save with Conrad than we would have anywhere else. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, like Larry and Francis were they were the greatest. Not only were they professional, knew what they were talking about, they were friendly, and they cared about the job they were doing, which was so important to me. I would absolutely recommend Save with Conrad to anybody. Hi, this is Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois, and I wanted to do some home improvements and spend down a little debt, and I got hold of Save with Conrad, and we did incredibly.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.